Hello and welcome back to the non-league podcast. So let's jump straight into Tuesday night's games. Another big week in non-league, as every week seems to be. And at the end of last week's episode, I said to Dan that they were going to lose 5-0 to Hartlepool. It didn't quite go that way, did it, Dan?
No, well, what's the word I use here? Underestimated. We played very well against Hartlepool, but the last 5-10 minutes was proper heart in the mouth kind of stuff. Because I genuinely thought they were going to have us in the last few minutes with either Luke Armstrong or whoever else was up there. Armstrong's the only player I remember because he's a tapping merchant. But still, we could have easily beaten them, really. Two good goals. Firstly, Cairo Mitchell, then Armstrong equalised about 5 minutes later, and then chuck another 5 minutes onto that. Giassi went up and scored what I believe was his first league goal, well, first one in the league, and then Hartlepool came out in the second half and equalised and pretty much dominated on since then. Anyone could have won that game. I'm going to pass you on to Kel because I believe he watched it and see what his thoughts were.
Yeah, it was a very disappointing performance, to be fair, in my opinion, because of the fact that we should be going to Kings Lynn, a team who half the team is furloughed and getting 3 points. It's as simple as that. You can say what it is, but it was disappointing. The first goal, defensively, we were absolutely shocking. It was just one goal kick through. We did start the game off all right, and then that moment happened. And then thankfully we put the ball in the right place where Luke Armstrong, the tapping merchant, had another tap in for his 10th goal of the season. Then they scored again. I think it was a bit of a scrappy goal, but you'll take them. And then Reece Oates scored a decent head, to be fair. We could have won it late on. We had a number of chances which we just didn't take, but it was a frustrating night, to be fair. But if we want to do absolutely anything in this league, we have to beat Kings Lynn. Like, no respect to them, but they're near the bottom of the table, half the team's furloughed, so it was disappointing, but point to point at the end of the day, but it is 2 points dropped.
Yeah, and you know it's bad when we have a keeper coming in from the Northern Premier League, about 2 hours announced before kickoff, making his debut, and you could only get two past him. But yeah, I think, it was a very good game in terms of Lynn standards. I'm not going to say I'm gutted because I'm not. I mean, part of me thought we could have had that win, part of me thought Hartlepool could have had that win. But I also just want to say fair play to Hartlepool for leaving the dressing room in such a clean state. The club posted a photo of it. They left it in such a good state, and not many clubs do that. So fair play to Hartlepool because that saved some of our guys a couple hours. Ben?
We beat Barnet 2-1. It was a bit of a scrappy performance, but obviously it's a bit of a difficult one playing a team who's got nothing to play for. We went 1-0 up early on from Hogan. We missed a few chances before. Harry Cardwell missed the header, and then he got injured, and then Madden came on for his debut. It was an average performance, but not much he can do. I don't think he was really meant to come in this early. And then he missed an empty net. Then Jordan Key made a massive mistake and they scored from a bit of sloppy play. And then Jack Stratton got the winner late on. It's good take. Got 2 and 2. It's good, all right performance.
So yeah, well, we have finally decided, well, we have finally convinced the editor of the podcast, Luke, as he is also a Stockport County fan. So, Luke, what do you have to add about that performance?
I think we could definitely have scored a few before they got theirs. It was a really sloppy goal to concede. I don't think we should have, but Barnet played well to say they're, second bottom? I think had we drawn that game, there would have been a lot of complaints from county fans.
Right, so obviously Woking played at home to Altrincham this Tuesday night, and it looked to be a sort of routine 1-0 victory. after we scored a very, very scrappy goal from a corner through Karen Losthouse. But in the 90th minute, Ben Guerin gave a penalty away and Josh Hancock scored the penalty. And then just seconds after, Tony Thompson, the Altrincham keeper, pulled off a ridiculous save to stop Moussa Diarra from heading in a winner. So, I mean, personally about our league form, it's not really. We know that the league's sort of done for us anyway. No relegation, not going to make the playoffs. It's just about pride at this point, and it's always disappointing when you can see the last-minute equaliser, but we did dominate the game as well. But that's all I have to say on that, to be honest. And now on to, we did ask for a team for Josh Mann to watch every week, and the draw came out, and it was Yeovil. So, Josh, how did Yeovil do on Tuesday night?
Well, they lost 2-1 to Bromley with a late own goal by Ruben Reid, giving Bromley the win. I mean, you could have been a supporter of any football team, but Yeovil wouldn't have wished it was them that night. But the top scorer in the league, Michael Cheek, gave Bromley the lead, and then Reece Murphy equalised from the spot. Then it's a pretty great header from Ruben Reid, to be fair, for the own goal to win it for Bromley. But yeah, it was a good win for Bromley, continuing their push into the playoffs. I was on the subject of results. I will talk about probably the results of that game week. Maidenhead against Torquay. Maidenhead just completely demolished Torquay. They won 4-1. I mean, they just ran riot with them, and Torquay just looked like they were all over the place. It was 2-0 at half time, and it ended up being 4-0 with only 55 on the clock. So it could have even been more if Maidenhead were really in the mood for it. And then Scott Bowden got a late penalty back for Torquay, but it wasn't enough. And I'll also just mention as well, Bournemouth against Knox County. Bournemouth were 2-0 up. They'll be gutted that they managed to let the lead slip. They were 2 up, 2 goals. So Marsh in the first minute, and then Shamanga after 54. Then Effie Young's penalty, 2 minutes from time, secure the point for Knox, which still increases the pressure on Neil Ardley, because they would have thought they needed a win from that, because Bournemouth were a lot lower than them, and Knox would have wanted the points if they wanted to keep up the pressure on the likes of Sutton and Hartlepool. But yeah, again, the pressure cranks up on Ardley. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Moving on to other Tuesday night games, there was a big one at the Technique Stadium. Chesterfield 0, Sutton United 1. Sutton, Donovan Wilson getting his second goal in 2 games, as it were, which it's a vital 3 points for Sutton at this stage, because especially with Hartlepool dropping points at the time, it extended their lead at the table, in the top of the table, to 6 points. And then another big game we mentioned was Halifax versus Aldershot. Halifax squeezing Aldershot out in a massive playoff 6-pointer with a goal from Jamie Owen in the 84th minute, which puts Halifax in the driving seat for that 7th place. And then another huge game was Wrexham 2, Eastleigh 2. 2 teams that are in the playoffs, or were in the playoffs, and including a screamer from Joe Tomlinson. So a lot of big crunch matches on Tuesday. And then moving on to Saturday's games, I think we'll have to start off with the match in the podcast between Hartlepool and Woking. So I'll hand over to Kel. What did you think of that game?
I think it was a good performance from Hartlepool. Woking did have a good account of themselves. I thought all in all, we deserved to win the game. Maybe you'll disagree a bit, but I think with the amount of chances we had, especially in the first half, I think it wasn't by much, but I think we did deserve the 3 points. In the first half, I think we mostly dominated. We had a number of chances. We hit the crossbar. Then William should have scored. And we had a couple of more chances in that half. But then coming in the second half, Wharton came up the strongest team for the first 10, 20 minutes. And then I think a big moment for Wharton is when they came through and hit the post, which really should have scored in the position that he was in. But then the moment came where Rhys Oates picked up the ball, ran through and smashed it in the bottom corner, which was a massive goal for us. And then we ran out, got the 3 points, a massive 3 points after not winning them 3 games. So we need that win. But I was impressed by Wharton's performance, and yeah, what are your thoughts on it, Will?
To be honest, I'm not really much different from what you thought of the game. I think first half, Hartlepool peppered our goal. We're very unlucky to be going in 0-0 at half time. And although then Hartlepool had a spell where they were sort of sitting back and absorbing the Woking pressure, you just felt that they were going to get that breakthrough, and it was a good goal to win it. And you can see why Hartlepool are up there, because they're much changed since the 3-0 at our place in December. So, and a massive save from Ben Killett when it was 1-0. A ridiculous save. Gordon Banks there to deny Sam Ashford what would have been a certain goal. But yeah, I mean, we move on to Tuesday night probably full of a bit of confidence after what was a good showing. But one team that will not be full of a lot of confidence is definitely Wealdstone. Alex, if you'd like to explain.
I think we're such a bipolar team because, you know, we went on. I wouldn't say it was a run, but I mean we got a good win against Bournemouth, and a good win against Kingsley, and we all thought it was our season was going to change. But since then, I don't think we've even looked like scoring, to be honest. In our game against Knox County, we didn't have a single shot on target. And I know expected goals isn't really a proper stat, but it's really the story of our season. I mean, in these games that we're losing, I mean, in the 4-0 to Weymouth, I don't think it looked like we were going to score at all. I think we might have had maybe one shot on target, or maybe like 2 shots overall, but just in attack we just have no idea. Like we don't play as a team. There's no like link through the middle. It's kind of everyone just doing their thing and trying to like spray balls around like we're Barcelona. It's terrible. Defending shocking as well. Fair play to Weymouth. They deserved it. They're absolutely all over us, I think, from minute one. It was quite a scrappy game though. It started off really scrappy. There was fouls going all over the place, and it looked quite even. But as soon as they got their first goal, that was it. And as soon as we concede first, that's it. We forget how to play football, and we're just like, nah, fuck it, no, we'll just leave it. So yeah, it's terrible again.
And then Dan, you were very confident that King's Lynn were going to get a result where Torquay, who'd been on a terrible run of form, just wasn't to be, was it?
Yeah, well, anyone who listens to who knows me well knows that at the moment, obviously, fair load and everything, I have got no confidence in Lynn. But we're playing good football at the moment, and to be playing against teams like Sutton, Hartlepool, Torquay, and only conceding 5 in those 3 games and scoring 2, which sounds shit in hindsight, but it's good for a fair low side. I think that's a very good record. But yeah, yesterday we had a free kick within 37 seconds that clattered the bar, Tyler Denton, and then Jordan Richards' rebound was saved by Cobland for a corner. And then Lynn just played really well. And then after that, we just couldn't play football at all. Torquay had the high press on us all game. We couldn't break their back line. The only time we did break their back line was in the second half, just after they scored, and Giassi just absolutely put it wide, scuffed it wide from absolutely nothing. Torquay goal, very scruffy error from Theo Robinson in goal. Other than that, nothing really to report on apart from the ref really annoyed me yesterday because felt like he was giving everything to Torquay, yet when Lynn was suffering the same fouls, we were getting nothing.
So Stockport against Sutton was the crunch match yesterday. Which one of you wants to start off what was quite a dramatic finish to the game.
Go on, I'll go first. Well, we started brightly. We missed. Paddy Madden missed probably an easy chance that he probably should be putting away, and then there was not really much more in the first half. And then they scored an early header. Harry Beautyman scored, and then literally nothing much happened. And then right at the end of the game, they were time wasting. They tried to bring on 2 subs in the 90th minute, and he just added 4 minutes on. But they did it one at a time, so they could waste more time. And then after they got their second sub on, we had a corner, and then James Jennings rose at the back post and scored the equaliser. Probably the biggest limbs in my front room that there'll be this season, and the closest it'll feel to being back at the ground. But overall, I think it's probably a good result. But personally, I don't think anyone's catching Sutton now. They're 10 points ahead of us with the game in hand. I think it's Sutton's title.
Anything to add, Luke?
I just want to say we could have had a few penalties yesterday. We could have won it, but it wasn't to be. That referee really annoyed me, and if the refereeing continues like that, then I don't even think we'll get playoffs at this rate.
Well, I'd just like to apologise to all Yeovil Town fans, because since we installed Josh Mann as your correspondent, you've lost 2 out of 2. Josh, if you'd like to explain.
Yeah, I think not just proved too much for Yeovil, to be honest. For Knox, it was a much needed win for them. Does ease the pressure off of Ardley a little bit, but obviously he's still going to be in question if they continue on with the sort of inconsistent run. Jake Reeve scored a screamer for the first goal, and it seems he only scores screamers now. If we can find a video of it, we'll try and link it if we can remember. But yeah, absolute screamer. Then they scored a second goal with 12 minutes left to kill it off through Barnett, and yeah, not just had proved too much quality for Yeovil, and they thoroughly deserved the win.
And in terms of other games yesterday, there were a few high scorers, one of them being Aldershot 3, Bournemouth 3, in which Bournemouth sailed into a 2-0 and then a 3-1 lead. But then late goals from Josh Rees in the, well, not really late, but Aldershot pulling it back to 3-3 and further denting Bournemouth's playoff charge, if it were. And then, as we always say, you could have been a supporter of any football team at the moment. Why would you rather not be a Bromley fan? Because they are on back-to-back wins and they currently occupy the 7th place that everyone is going for. A good 1-0 win at home to Solihull. And then Eastleigh in another big playoff match, just edging out Halifax 1-0. Tyrone Barnett with the goal there. And then Barnett lost 2-0 to Chesterfield in what would be a big boost to James Rowe, because following back-to-back defeats, they needed to get back on track. And we always have this argument, but where do Barnett go from now in terms of recruitment, in terms of manager? Anyone want to talk about where Barnett go from now?
Yeah, where did Barnett go? To save embarrassment of the fact they were in League 2 a couple of years ago, now they're facing National League South next season. Liquidate? No, I'm only joking. I won't wish on anyone. But yeah, what on earth's happened to Barnett? It's gone so bad for them. They're not a team. They've got no chemistry. They're not good enough for this league. I hate to say it, but they're not good enough for this league. I hope for their sake next season's better, because Barnet are better than 22nd in the National League. Anyone can see that. And it's just annoying. I'm sad for their fans that have to go through it week in, week out, just putting up with everyone, every game losing 4-5-1. It's just annoying for them.
Anyone else got anything to add on Barnet? We will move on then. So the next topic is another struggling team, which is Dover. So what do we do with Dover in terms of kicking them out of the league, in terms of deducting points next season, in terms of transfer ban? Alex, if you want to start.
I think just let them regroup next year. I think it's not really been that. I know for other teams, I don't think it's been that much of a difference though. Them not playing their games. I mean, obviously, it's unfair for the teams that haven't played them, but they're all getting sorted out by points and that. But I mean, it's so hard to run a football club, and it's even harder to run a football club with the financial stability that we're in right now, in obviously with coronavirus, and to do it in the highest of the non-league, I think it's just like it's ridiculous that it's come to this and that they've had to stop playing games. But yeah, I think just leave it and just let them regroup next season.
Ben, anything to add?
Well, I think there's probably only two things that they can do. They can either keep them in the league next year, maybe give them a bit of a points deduction, or relegate them to the south. I think they're probably the only two things that they can really, because I think it'd be slightly unfair if they're just allowed to stay in the league and just carry on like next year. So I think that's the only really thing that they can do.
I personally think Dover should be given a points deduction next season, because we can't have them starting on a level playing field after they have only played half the season. So I'm pretty sure most Dover fans would accept that, as long as they exist as a football team. Dan, any objection to that?
No real objection, apart from obviously when all this fiasco started, I was backing up Dover quite a lot. Yeah, now they're just pissing me off. They're winding me up, because instead of just postponing all their games, just say we're not going to play again this season. Take whatever punishment you get from the league, move on. Even if it's a transfer embargo or something, just move on. Go again next season. Just get relegated next season, because it's what's bound to happen. It's Dover Athletic, for fuck's sake.
No holding back there then. So in terms of the playoff picture we are looking at now, that 7th place seems to be the one which no one is certain on yet. Who are we backing for that 7th place in the National League, and why? Go on then, Luke.
I think should Chesterfield carry on in their form, I think there's no reason why they couldn't get it, but it's so open at the moment. I think it'll go to whoever's on the best form at the moment. But I do think Chesterfield will nick it.
Anyone else?
7th in the league.
Oh, go on.
Oh, sorry, you go, Josh.
Okay, cheers. Like Luke said, it's ridiculously open, and it wouldn't be surprised if it's like 4 teams or something battling it out on the final day or something ridiculous. But I've had to pick one team at this point in time. A few weeks ago, I backed Halifax, and even though they're currently a point outside, I've still got an inkling they could sneak into it. So at the moment, I'll back Halifax for it, but it could all change because of how tight and ridiculously close it is.
Dan?
Yeah, so looking at the table here, 7th to 16th is all separated by 7 points, with games in hands all over the gaff. I don't want to make any real proper predictions, but if I had to think outside the box, I'd stick with Bromley at the moment, because they're such a good team, but I can't see them getting higher than 7th, but I think they'll get playoffs.
Well, I have to say that at the moment it's almost impossible to call this one. But I reckon Halifax have just been hit with injuries at the wrong time. Cameron King's been ruled out injured recently. Jake Hyde is injured, Luke Summerfield is injured, and that's half their team. Actually, Cameron King doesn't play for Halifax anymore. And Jamie Allen's on international duty. So that's most of Halifax's team. And I have to say, Eastleigh are just a bit inconsistent for my liking. They seem to win a couple of games, then lose a couple of games. But I have to agree with the others that Chesterfield, on their current form, without the 2 defeats suffered recently, you'd have to back Chesterfield. And even still, Maidenhead are up there, which I'm not sure anyone expected. But after a really good week for them, Maidenhead are back up there, and who knows? Alex, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think same as you. I think I see Maidenhead. They're creeping up. I saw the other day. I think they had 2 or 3 games in hand. I think over a couple of teams at the top. And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say I don't think Torquay are going to get playoffs. And I'll probably get a bit of stick for that, but they've had so many injuries, and the confidence at the club, all around the club, is just so low. And I just don't think that they'll be able to get the result they need. They've got Kings Lynn next, but as Hartlepool learned, Kings Lynn can be no runovers. I mean, I know they've got a lot of players furloughed, but I don't think they're going to make it. I think there are teams better than Torquay at the moment in time. Lots of teams have games in hand over them as well, and I don't think they're going to get playoffs.
Well, I do think that's going to cause a bit of controversy because, as you know, we still have a couple of Torquay fans who will definitely be listening to the podcast. And a view like that, after Torquay were top of the league by 15 points, I mean, they would have wanted you to get your brain checked out, but you are right about their form. And as you say, they are quite, at the moment, they don't score many goals and they concede quite a few. So you can see why Torquay would be dropping out. On to Tuesday night's games. And we will start off with a big one. Hartlepool United continuing their away record against Dagenham and Redbridge, who got a win against Altrincham. Kel, it's got to be a must-win, hasn't it, this one?
I think that I think it has to be. Like, if we're gonna have any chance of catching Sutton, we have to win games like this. It's one of them games away on a Tuesday night, the long journey down to London to play Dagenham. It's going to be a hard game because Dagenham's been a team which have been off and on this season. I think sometimes they could play good football, get a good result, and then the next week they could get smashed by a team. So I think it really depends what Dagenham team turn up. And I think if we play our best, the best that we can play, we should easily beat them. But as we know, against Kings Lynn and Alty, we sometimes struggle away from home, but we struggle more than we do at home. So I think we should still win. I think we will win about 2-3-0. But I will not be surprised if we come on with 1 or even worse, 0 points.
So moving on from a substantially big game in the National League to a pretty small one in context. Altrincham at home to Kings Lynn Town. Dan, you must just be hoping for a result from this one.
We all know what happened last time I said that, so I prefer not to speak. Yeah, it's just one of those games you got to take as it comes, really. Yeah, I think part of me thinks we can beat Altrincham away. Never actually played Altrincham away before, and we've been in the same league with them 2 years in a row now, but that doesn't change anything. Apparently their pitch isn't the best, which might swing into their favour more because they probably used to playing on a shittier pitch. So that might swing into their favour more, but we'll have to see what happens when it happens. I think I'm going to go with the Hartlepool score from last week, 2-2 draw. I'm not going to say win because I can't see Lynn winning any games at the moment. So 2-2 draw, I'll be happy with that. So, yeah,
So the wait for Paddy Madden's first goal in a Stockport shirt continues, and this week they are at home to Eastleigh. Ben, what are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I think it's going to be a very tough game because we're still in the playoff race to try and get as high as we can to get the home semi-final tie, and Eastleigh are trying to get into the playoffs. When we played them away, I think we were the miles better team, but we got the red card, which obviously got rescinded later on, and then we went on to lose the game. But I feel like we're definitely the better side, and I feel like we'll come away with a win.
Anything to add, Luke?
I think it depends on who plays realistically, because we might have some players coming back from injury, like Macaulay Salder-Mills and possibly Mark Kitchen, but I think that's all Paddy Madden needs to get going is some decent service, and I don't think he's going to get that with Reed on the wing, and I think we just need to see who plays first before deciding any sort of result.
So, Josh, our honorary Yeovil fan. Yeovil play the reverse fixture of Knox County at home on Tuesday night. You'll be hoping for your first win as Yeovil correspondent. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously, it may be a good thing that they've just played because they'll have may have a better idea how Knox will play and set up. So they'll be looking for instant revenge, obviously, but of course, with Knox being as good as they are, going for playoffs, etc., it won't be easy. But their away form isn't as good as they are at home, so Yeovil will take that confidence going into the game. Perhaps I wouldn't be surprised if they can take a draw, maybe. So I'll go 1-1. Let's say 1-1.
And then it comes to the biggest game of Tuesday night, Wealdstone versus Woking, the one the world is going to be watching. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I mean, bigger than the El Clasico, I'd say. It'd be the I can't think of a name for it, but yeah, Woking Wealdstone. It's probably gonna be 0-0. Probably gonna be 0-0. We're both crap. We're even worse, but you're quite bad. So it's just gonna be who's gonna be worse. So yeah, just get ready for crap hoofball, losing the ball. It's going to be end to end, to be fair. It's going to be end to end because we both can't play football. So, be an interesting game.
Well, I feel obliged to mention the last time Woking played Wealdstone, which happened to be one of the best games of football I've ever been to, when we won 3-2 in the playoff semi-final after being 2-0 down with 15 minutes left. And to be honest, if it's anything as good as that game, it'll be worth the streaming fee. But to be honest, I think we're going to rotate more because we've got the Hereford game coming up on Saturday, and that's the big one. So there'll probably be a few changes. But I'd still like to hope we can get a win, like a 1-0 or a 2-1 or something, especially after Wealdstone's extremely poor performance on Saturday. Now moving on to...
Oh, go on. Go on.
No, you go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say we're in such bad form, but we're such a weird club. Like, we could go lose 4-0 and then we could go win 4-0. So you just never know, but it will probably go Wokin's way.
Moving on to the other big games of Tuesday night. Anyone want to talk us through some of those?
I'll quickly mention El Clasico, as I think some people call it. Bromley against Sutton. Bromley would like to consolidate their place in the playoffs, while Sutton look to extend their lead at the top and to extend their lead over Hartlepool. I think this is quite interesting. It's normally quite interesting when these two sides play. Bromley are in decent form as well, I think. So could go either way. It's an interesting game to call, that one. Also, Torquay versus Solihull. Obviously, Torquay look to carry on from the victory over Kings Lynn on Saturday. And Solihull, who are not great at the moment. So it's a game you'd think Torquay should be picking points up in, and so they can hopefully close the gap on Hartlepool and put the pressure on them.
Yeah, that is quite a big game. Another big game in the National League. Torquay at home to Solihull Moors, and it's a must-win for Torquay now. They are lagging behind Sutton. If they have any sort of hope of winning if they have any sort of hope of still winning the league, which I'm not sure they do, to be honest, they will have to be hoping that Sutton drop points, Hartlepool drop points, and they pick up 3 points against Solihull, who are winless in 8 themselves. So it has to be said as well, Solihull probably one of the biggest disappointments of the season. I certainly predicted them quite high up in predictions. Anyone else? Okay, then moving on to Saturday's games. And we shall start with... Let's start at the big crunch match between Stockport and Hartlepool. And this is a massive game, not only in the podcast, but also in the league. So which one of you wants to start us off on that one?
I'll go. It's one of them games that Stockport are gonna really want revenge, aren't they, from the 4-0 hammering that they got when they came to our place, and they also got 2 players sent off. But it's going to be a completely different game. It's not going to be that easy. It's also their ground as well. It's going to be a really, really hard game. Obviously, we've got to keep an eye on their youth striker. I forgot what his name is, but he's came with a good reputation. So I think our defence will have to be really on it and keeping him and try and keep him as quiet as possible. I think it'd be a really interesting game. I would take a point right now if I was offered it because of the fact that Stockport are on the up again. They have a really good defence, and now it looks like they've got a man who can put the ball in the back next, so they'll be a real danger. So I'll pass you over to Ben to see what he thinks.
I cannot call this game at all because after what happened at Hartlepool, because we got the red card early on. So, but I think if Madden gets the right service and we've got Kitchen and Macaulay South from Hales back, I think we could probably nick it. But I would also take a draw.
Luke?
Obviously, I think with South Wales coming back, I think he'll want to obviously get revenge on Hartlepool after the 4-0 loss. Obviously, playing for him last season, I don't think he won. The first thing on his mind was to go back and lose 4-0, so I think him and Kitchen will be on it if they play. So I'm just hoping that we can get something out of that game because I'm not very confident going into it.
So, Josh, another game for Yeovil, this time at home to Barnet. And surely this should be a chance to get your Yeovil duck up and running.
Yeah, I don't want to put a jinx on anything, but it's definitely the most winnable game Yeovil will have for in their most recent run of fixtures. They've got to be, you think they'll be getting a win here, especially with the fact Barnet are a pretty dismal team at the moment. And there's a lot of uncertainty with the managerial situation, etc. So, yeah, you'd think Yeovil should be getting a win here. Yeah, without hopefully putting a jinx on it, that should be 3 points from.
And in terms of other games in the league, there are a couple of big playoff matches. Wrexham at home to Bromley, which is a big match in terms of that 7th place for Bromley. And what way do we think that one's going to go?
Wrexham Bromley, did you say?
Yep.
I'm going to go outside the box here, 2-1 Bromley. Because Wrexham are a half decent side, but I can just see Bromley winning a lot of games here on them because they're a very good side. And yeah, why not win it? Because they've proven they can win. I think if Bromley can get a good enough run of results going, they'll go up into League 2 next year through the playoffs. Simple as Luke.
I've got a feeling Wrexham will just dominate that game. They're going in on good form, I think. So you expect them to nick a win, realistically, against Bromley. They've got Michael Cheek, to be fair, who's a top scorer in the league. But apart from that, I don't know where the threat's coming from. I'd say Wrexham nick that about 3-4-0.
Josh?
Yeah, so it's two of the form teams in the league at the moment. I've got a feeling this could be a very entertaining encounter. Again, let's hope I don't jinx it and it'll be a 0-0 now probably. But yeah, I think it could be potential to be a very entertaining game. I've got a feeling Wrexham will just edge this. I think there'll be plenty of goals in it. I think they may just nick it 3-2 in my opinion. But yeah, I think there could be plenty of entertainment about in that game.
Alex, your thoughts?
Wrexham always turn up when they need to turn up. So they sometimes get the bad result against the down the table side, but when they want to turn up, they do, and they do have the quality in their players, and I think they will edge playoffs come the end of the season quite hard at the playoffs, and so I reckon they'll win this 3-0. I think that'll be a big push for them to really secure playoffs in this game.
Okay, moving on to another big match next Saturday. It's the televised match for some reason. Maidenhead at home to Altrincham. You can only see this one going one way, really, can't you, at the moment? Luke?
I'd say Altrincham have the firepower to get a few goals, get a goal or two against Maidenhead, but Maidenhead for me look like the dark horses for playoffs. Like, if they can keep grinding out results, then they get into the playoffs without a doubt, and I'd say they're a better team than Altrincham by a good mile. And realistically, they should be winning that.
Josh?
Yeah, agree with Luke. The form that the Maidenhead are currently showing, you definitely expect them to be picking up points there. I don't think Altrincham will make it easy for them though. I think they could put a bit of pressure on them, but ultimately, I just think Maidenhead will just have the quality just to nick it in the end.
And now on to Sutton Watch, as we like to call it, because they are top of the league. They are there to be fired at. They are away to Halifax Town. Could this be a possible slip-up in the title race? Kel, you'll be looking for a result for Halifax in this one, won't you?
They have to slip up at some point. Well, hopefully they slip up at one point, because if they just keep on winning games, then no one's going to catch them. So I think Halifax, they could do a job over them, but it's really hard for anybody to beat Sutton at the moment because of the fact that how they're doing, the grinding out results, they got around going, the confidence all around the club. They're up there, and it's starting to look like that they're going to bridge a lot more of a gap, especially if it's hard to drop points again or Torquay. So we've just got to hope. I think there's about 4 or 5 teams in the National League that are up there, and all want something to drop points. So fingers crossed that Halifax can do us all a favour.
Josh, what do you reckon? Do you think Sutton are going to get another easy 3 points? Or
I'm not going to say for sure that they'll win or they'll drop points, but I think it's a potential banana skin for them because Halifax are definitely going to be up for it because they're going to need every point they can get, every win they can get if they want to be getting into those playoffs. So both sides are going to be heavily up for this, and Halifax aren't going to make it easy for them because we've seen how good they can be against teams towards the top, like Torquay, for example. They went away to Playmore and did the number on them, and they could cause problems for Sutton. So Sutton need to be wary of them if they want to be getting a win there, because Halifax can cause them problems.
Speaking of Plainmoor, there's another big game at the Chigwell Construction Stadium in Dagenham, as Torquay are the visitors to Dagenham and Redbridge. And you have to say, Torquay have to be winning this one as well if they want to continue their charge back up the league. They need to be building some momentum now.
I mean, yeah, Torquay have just got to pretty much be looking to win every game that they can at this point because of the slip up they've had. They need to win to get that, put that pressure back on Hartlepool and Sutton. So, yeah, especially against the teams towards the bottom, they've got to be must wins, and yeah, the games they need to be looking at picking up points in.
Okay, then moving on to the FA Trophy, the big one. And I'm not going to start with Viking semi-final. I'm going to start with Hornchurch's semi-final. And I'm going to start with Dan, who has been our Hornchurch correspondent, if you like, for the whole of Hornchurch's trophy run. What do you think will happen when Hornchurch take on Knox County?
Well, can I just firstly mention a game you forgot about, Kings Lynn versus Eastleigh, for this Saturday?
Yeah, to be honest, it's not the most memorable one, so yeah, forgive me for that.
No, that's fine. Obviously beat Eastleigh with an Adam Marriott penalty at the start of the season. Well, I'd say start of the season in about December. Where my famous when Lynn win the town win tweet came out. And he tweeted that once since. Oh god, that sounds so depressing. But yeah, I think we can. I don't know enough about Eastleigh to judge it. I think I'm going to just say a 1-1 draw at the moment, and when I learn more stuff about Eastleigh, I'll know. Hornchurch Notts, do you know what? It's probably not going to happen, but I hope Hornchurch turn over Notts County because Notts underestimating them so much. They just think it's a free ticket to Wembley, and I would just love to see the tears and everything from Notts County's fans on Twitter after Hornchurch possibly beat them in the FA Trophy. That would just make my season. And I'd certainly be tuning into BT Sport for the final if they made it. Yeah, that's it. And obviously, going back to you, Will, I believe you've got a very big game on Saturday, which you might want to talk about. I don't know if you want to jinx anything.
I haven't mentioned it much, have I? It's only the biggest game in a couple of years of Vikings history. We're one game from Wembley. We've had the toughest run of anyone probably ever in any competition, beating the likes of Dover, Bromley, Sutton and Torquay. And now it's where you sort of find out, are we good enough to get to Wembley? I'm not going to show Hereford any disrespect. They deserve to be where they are. They beat Aldershot on penalties last round, which I'm very grateful for, because I'm not sure I'd be living if we lost to Aldershot in an FA Trophy semi-final. But I've just got to hope we can put it together, because this is a massive game for the football club. Everyone's been looking forward to this one. Our whole preparations have been on this one. So what are your guys' thoughts on this game from an unbiased point of view?
Yeah. So obviously Hereford at home, they're getting right into it. They're selling cardboard cutouts for the crowds. I think they're doing half and half scarves. They're doing programs. They're trying to make it feel as real as they can for the supporters, and I can't blame them for that. But will it come back to bite them? Yeah, I think it will, because I think Woking will have that quality to just about edge them out. But having said that, I probably shouldn't say that because Will now kill me if they lose on Saturday. Yeah, that's all I want to say on it. Luke?
I do think Woking will win, but I don't think Hereford are to be underestimated. Like, they're a good National League North side, and I think, say they've got to the semi-final of the FA Trophy, they definitely know what they're doing, and I do think they can snatch a result if they play well.
Josh, what are your thoughts?
I think Woking will feel confident they can get through. But again, like Luke said, the Hereford aren't to be underestimated because they're clearly done well to get to the semi-finals. So you can't underestimate them, because if you underestimate them, that's when things start to go wrong. So I don't think it'll be easy by any means, but I think Woking may just edge it and just get through to the final.
So, does anyone have anything else to talk about in the world of non-league before we wrap this up?
I don't think we actually made an official announcement to make official thoughts on the signing of Stockport signing Paddy Madden. So, what do we all think of it? Because obviously it's a massive move to drop down from League One from Fleetwood, where he was scoring goals for them, and to drop down into non-league. I'll start with our Stockport fans, and I'll start with Luke.
I think it's a very, very, very good signing for the level, but it's going to take him time. And like I said before, he needs service. I think he's more of a poacher, so I definitely need service. And once he gets scoring, I think he will start to blitz this league, if I'm really honest.
Go on, Ben.
Right, well, my opinion on it is it's either going to be the best signing we're making non-league, or it's going to be one of the worst signings in non-league history. For the price tag and the amount he'll be getting paid, if it doesn't work out, it will be horrific. But if it does work out, on the other hand, we'll be in the Football League either next season or definitely the season after.
Dan, what are your thoughts on the signing of Paddy Madden?
Yeah, so obviously with Kings Lynn being in step 3 most of my life, I'm still not used to seeing numbers like 300,000 flying around in the National League. So what I'm going to say now will probably come out as what I'm trying to think of a word I'm looking for. I can't think of it. But in my opinion, 300 grand is not the kind of money you should be spending in non-league, because it's just ridiculous. Because then you've got little clubs like Lynn, Dover and all that. I'm not saying it's big clubs' faults that they're suffering, but to me it's not non-league money. But maybe I'm just saying that because I'm used to step 3 and seeing players playing part-time and everything. Kel?
I think this signing really shows that how effective money is in football now. Like, he's dropped down 2 divisions because he's going to get paid more money. So it really shows that I think players care more about money than ambition nowadays. And I agree with you to think that the fact that a £300,000 price tag is getting bought in non-league, like, you don't normally see it, and it's a massive amount of money. So I think it's a really good signing. Obviously, I think he will do well this season. But if Stockport don't go up this season, I think it's a failed signing, in my opinion. But maybe next season he'll bang goals and then they'll go up the season after. But it also does show the ambition that Stockport have once again of trying to get out of this division.
I think in terms of ambition, you got to look at what the players achieved. He got Yeovil promoted up to the Championship. Then he dropped 2 divisions down to sign for Scunthorpe in League 2. So you can sort of tell he's sort of content with where he's at. And I don't think he minds dropping down a couple of leagues. Like, everyone knows he's good enough for League 1. He's shown it. It's a secure deal for him as well as and his family. And you got to say, why wouldn't you take 3.5 or whatever it is grand a week? Ben?
Well, the move for him and both the clubs involved is best for everyone. Fleetwood get a fee, and he had I think the Fleetwood fan Nappers said that he had about 18 months left, but he wouldn't be guaranteed another contract at the end of the deal. But with us, he's got security for 3 years, a full-time. We've got obviously the championship ambition. So it's going to be a good club for him to be around, which is already like on the inside of the club already at that level.
Anyone else got anything to add? So I think on that note, then we should end the non-league podcast there for another week. Next week, Dan.
Yeah, I just want to touch on a signing Lynn made over the week. Well, two, I should say. Firstly, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, Theo Richardson coming in from Cleethorpes, so I believe a Northern League, if not, I don't know where they are in the country. I'm failed geography at GCSE. Anyway, yeah, good signing. Seems like a good keeper. Obviously, it's only a month-long loan because Archie Mayer is out injured, and we can't really have Paul Bastock starting every week at the age of 50. And then, secondly, we have someone who's one of my good mates from high school. We had a lad called Joe Gascoigne jump up from the academy to the first team, which I think is absolutely massive for a lad. I've got full respect for him. I've seen him grow from playing for the academy to the first team. So yeah, I hope he does well, and I hope he gets a good career out of it because he's only, I think, either 18 or 19. I can't actually remember, and he deserves a good career.
So now I really do think it is time to call an end to this week's podcast. Next week, next Sunday, you will see me if Woking get through to Wembley. You will not see me if Woking do not get through. So you will be able to tell from very early on. And another week where next week, hopefully, we will be talking about someone challenging Sutton to the league title. But until then, from all of us, it's goodbye.